What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Caught Stealing, Fantasy Alarm's Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Howard Bender, and look who finally came back. Decided he was going to grace us with his presence again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Colby Conway. Hi, Colby. How are you?
Good. Glad to be back. Shout out to Mr. Joe for filling in for me last week, and good to be back here talking a little fantasy baseball action with you, my friend.
Lots going on. There's a lot happening. Trade deadline looming. Buyers, sellers. You know, we did that show like a couple weeks ago where we started talking about, who the potential buyers and sellers would be for everything. It's crazy. Like I kind of went over it with Jim Bowden on Fantasy Alarm, but there are so many teams out there who are selling now, or that there should be selling. That I was like, should we do a segment on predicting who's going to get traded? I think we're going to see more trades this year than we have in quite some time.
We could, and then you can see there's certain teams with like Pittsburgh, like Philly sniffing around not just one relievers, but two of their relievers. You know, maybe a team that wants to make a move for Luis Robert also takes a pitcher from them. Like maybe in terms of quantity of trades, if there's going to be a lot of package deals, it may not be like others, but I do think we're going to see a lot of movement at this year's deadline, because if it is going to be a buyer's market with a lot of teams selling, you know, some of the names are out there maybe aren't as big as we've seen in years past, but still a lot of pieces that are movable. And there are certain guys we'll talk about a little bit later who are likely to be moved that are pitching quite well, and those teams have to love it. Unlike with Chicago, who their prime trade prospect or trade candidate in Luis Robert hit the injured list. But then in Washington, you have Mike Soroka, who's pitching like a Cy Young right before he's likely to get dealt. So Washington has to love the potential value they'll get there. So I love the trade deadline. It'll be fun, but I think you're right. I think we're going to see a lot of movement here in this trade deadline season.
Yeah. Getting a lot of questions from a lot of people, with like the whole trade deadline looming, players, especially like fantasy baseball keeper league players, are trying to make that move now before the trade deadline hits so that they can, kind of be preemptive with that. I don't know what kind of questions you're getting. Like I'm getting questions from all over the place right now. And one of the ones that really kind of caught my eye because I was like I was just basically trying to, say not to make this move, trading for closers in a dynasty league. And I get it, right? Somebody's gonna dangle a cheap Tanner Scott your way. Somebody's gonna dangle Felix Bautista your way. The two closers who, this person came to me and said, well, what do I do? And are they worth it? What's going to be their value next year? And the biggest problem with closers, for that matter, is obviously the volatility at the position. Like, I was like, Felix Bautista is he's a free agent at the end of this year. Baltimore is going to be selling. Does Bautista land somewhere as a closer, or does he just land as a setup man? And what happens? Does he hit the free agent market next year as a closer? Or does he hit the free agent market just as a reliever? Tanner Scott signed a 5-year deal with the Dodgers, right? But he signed a 5-year deal to basically be a committee guy, because they, that's what they do. That's how they bring it in. So, I was like, I wouldn't, like, if it's me trading in Dynasty, and I get it, if you need closers or whatever, you want closers, that's one thing, but there's so much volatility at the position. I can't get on board with, like trading a commodity, and, like Dylan Cease. This is where the deal comes crazy here, Colby. It's trading a commodity like Dylan Cease, who, yes, can get blown up, but has great strikeout upside for you. Is that worth, trading for a Tanner Scott or a Felix Bautista, at the end? I don't think so.
No, because let's take it past 1 year for a keeper, 2 years from now, there's a better chance Cease is on your team than any of these relievers. And you hit the nail on the head. It's all about volatility. Just to, this is going to rub some owners the wrong way, but the top two closers off the board this year for fantasy baseball, they were unquestioned, was Emmanuel Clase and Devin Williams.
Yeah.
Where's Devin Williams? And it's not like Clase has been bad by any means, but if you're the unquestioned number one closer, you can't have a 3.28 ERA and a 1.43 WHIP. That's not it. And look, if you go a little bit, I'm looking at the list here. Hader's fine, Diaz fine, Mason Miller, Helsley. You got Rizal Iglesias, who I'm pretty sure his ERA is north of 5. There's Bautista, Munoz, Yohan Duran, and a couple other guys there. There's too much volatility. You're not going to get. I don't know if the days of like an elite closer from year to year are past, but maybe from a fantasy perspective, I think it is. I don't think I'll ever call someone the unquestioned number one closer anymore. It's just not a thing. And when it comes to saves, if that's a scored category, bad teams have closers that rack up saves. You can find your strikeouts in your starters. I don't think I'm very hard pressed to find a situation unless you have ample amount of keepers and no other talent on your team that you'd be keeping relievers.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I said. Also, I was like, unless you're talking about like a Mason Miller or a Josh Hader or I don't know who the third example was. Oh, Edwin Diaz. I was like, unless you're talking about that kind of a player who has, the job security, and even that job security for, a guy like Diaz has been kind of up and down as well. I'm like, I'm just not interested in it. I ended up, I talked them into dealing Dylan Cease straight up for a $1 Chris Bubich for next year. I'll tell you what, man. I think it's a good move.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because, obviously Bubich is at a major bargain price at the dollar. He's plenty of like time spent away from his Tommy John surgery to not believe in what he's doing right now. And the strikeout strikeout rate, is sitting there at above a strikeout per inning. Left-handed pitcher, the Royals aren't getting him the world of run support or the wins, but I look at that and I'm like, Bubich is a guy who, if you're looking at like a mixed auction league, still next year probably goes for like 15, 16 bucks at least.
And if you even look just for this year, and I'll even extend it beyond, I'd much rather pitch in the AL Central than the NL West. I know the West has the Rockies and the Giants, but those other offenses, I don't want to mess with them. I love having pitchers in the AL Central, and Bubich is good. So I think it's a fine deal. And Dylan Cease is still very good, but one could argue that we know what Cease is at this point and kind of what his best is. Could Bubich continue to get better? That's another question you kind of look at. He's been damn good this year, but I don't mind that move at all, especially when you get the dollar values into play there. It's a really, really good deal.
Yeah, for a buck, I think you got Cease for like 23 or something like that. So, yeah, I think that's a great move. So as always, folks, if you have questions or whatever, at RotoBuzz Guy, at Colby R. Conway, if you're watching us on the YouTube channels right now, we thank you so much. Hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss a Fantasy Alarm show. And yeah, listen, if you're a Fantasy Alarm subscriber, do it up. Hit me and Colby up in Discord. Happy to help you guys. We're both active all over the place. Colby, give me a little arrow point right there to that little QR code. Zap that QR code right there. If you want to take a Fantasy Alarm family for a spin, 7-day free trial, you can go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Use the promo code Let's Go. Get 50%, my bad, 50, half off for your first month. And if you're listening to this right now, here before the 4th of July, we do have a special going, just so everybody knows. It's fantasyalarm.com/USA. Promo code USA25 takes 25% off any product we have. Draft guides, cheat sheets, monthly subscription, annual subscription, whatever it takes. fantasyalarm.com/USA. Promo code USA25 for that discount. What about you, Colby? Questions you're getting from people, Discord, what's catching your eye the most?
Yep. Got one person in Discord, and we've talked a lot about the second base position, just trying to find talent at the second base position. And I know back in, I don't even know when it was, February or March, you and I were opining that this was going to be the worst position in fantasy baseball for 2025. It was going to be bad. And over at Fangraphs, if you use their player rater tool, you can kind of get a dollar amount per players. And I was looking at the second base position. The top 6 earners at second base feature just one player inside the top 140 ADP before the season, and 4 of the top 6 are actually outside the top 200. If you look at the top 9 in terms of ADP, just one of them has returned a double-digit dollar amount, which is Ketel Marte. 2 are negative, and 4 have been worth less than $1. This position is bad, and it might just be worse than what we thought coming into the season. We liked Matt McClain. Power and speed has been good. Everything else sucked. He hasn't done much. Ozzie Albies has been one of the biggest disappointments in the league. Westberg was banged up a little bit. Outside of Ketel Marte, early picks at second base have not panned out. So we've been looking, the person I talk with has Matt Shaw at second base, and they're just kind of looking for other talent just to have. And I was like, you're good with Shaw, but just kind of taking stabs at guys in the waiver wire, the pictures that they send me. And it's like, holy moly, just stick with Shaw. Just pray to God he doesn't get hurt and just try to stick it out at second base. But just taking a look back of a couple of the things that we've talked about, we nailed the fact that second base was going to be a landmine this season.
Yeah, we definitely do. And that was like one of the things. And it was pretty funny because, Matt McClain didn't have the second base eligibility to open the season, right? We knew he was going to play second base, so it was just going to take a couple of games for him to get there. But I ended up drafting Matt McClain for the sole purpose of putting him at second base. And that has just been, but I mean, what's he hitting? Like 179 still? Like, I don't understand how a professional, and, listen, I grew up in the days where, the 80s, you had like these Latino middle infielders who were slick with the glove, but they couldn't hit their weight. And it was like, it was maddening. And so to see that now, especially from a guy like McClain, is definitely a nightmare. Where are you sending them? Are you sending them to Charlie Koss? Is that the dude's name from San Francisco, who had like a good game and now he just tore his hamstring or whatever?
You mean the perennial, on the MLB DFS show that James and John do, the perennial dart or the pay down at second base? That's the guy that they always mention, just going down to him. But I've said, hey, ride it out with Shaw and just kind of hope that he stays healthy and you'll be good there. Otherwise, it's slim pickings out there. There were some talks about trading for a second baseman, but just got to be a little bit too much. So ultimately at second base, if you have someone who is doing literally anything that's helping your team, I would just continue to go with it because there are probably other people in your league who are getting net negatives from that position. So I'm trying to look up quickly here. What's the worst batting average from a player? All right. According to StatMuse, Ruben Sierra had the worst batting average for a player who recorded a 2020 season at 208 in 1993. Matt McClain is hitting 213 right now with 9 home runs and 11 stolen bases. Matt McClain is in play for the worst batting average, but a 2020 season.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And what the hell happened to Ozzie Albies? Like this dude used to be automatic if the Braves were facing a lefty. Automatic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the hell happened there. Because you can't blame it on the fact that Ronald Acuna is not there anymore. Right? I mean, he's back.
Yeah, I mean, this year Albies actually hitting righties better than lefties. Against lefties this season, he doesn't have a single home run. He has a .044 ISO and a 39 WRC plus. That was what he was good for. Then you just look beyond that team. Like, what's up with Michael Harris? He's been terrible. Ozzie Albies has been bad. There is, outside of maybe Ketel Marte and then some of the guys outside of the top 200 in ADP, like Brandon Lau, who have been excellent at second base. That position has been a landmine.
It has been a landmine. You just said Michael Harris, and that just kind of triggered me as well. What the hell happened to this guy? Seriously. I'm not even kidding, Colby. I need an answer.
He looks lost. I think that's the only way that I know how to say it. You look and like the walk rate's a little bit down, although that was pretty low. It's just the xWOBA's at 296. He has a negative WAR. The defense is still good, luckily for him, but it's just nothing looks good as I'm looking at his profile. The optimist in me wants to go to, the expected stats say that better things are coming for him. But then I just look, and a 5.6 degree launch angle, that's not conducive to power performance. The soft contact is up. I'm just looking down through numbers here, swinging. And then you get the beloved, more swings out of the zone, less, actually the contact isn't half bad, all things considered, but you're getting more swings out of the zone. He's whiffing more. It's just I don't have a great explanation other than the fact that he looks lost. And when you just see him up there at the plate like that, just it looks it. He just looked lost. If you want any silver lining, it's like I said, the expected statistics indicate that better days are ahead. But at what point, Howard, do we basically say better things are ahead when he's played 82 games in the season?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? It's not like, hey, it's 15 games in. It's a slow start. It is what it is. He needs the weather to warm up. It's hot as hell everywhere. If you're not getting hot now, it's in trouble. He's lost. And if you try to trade him, it's going to be pennies on the dollar. And then, of course, Murphy's Law says that's when he'll kind of go off. So I don't know. I think if you have him, you're stuck with him because it's going to be pennies on the dollar. And maybe he does bounce back after the All-Star break. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was better in the second half last year than the first half. Yeah, 250 in the first half, 283 in the second half, and the power ticked up. That's all you're hoping for. I'm going to hold on to Michael Harris and probably just kind of take the sunk cost if he continues to suck.
Yeah, I mean, that's, just he's parked on my bench in a couple of different leagues just over that aspect of it. So, well, there you go. That's how we're starting off the show here. Second base sucks, and stop trading for closers in keeper and dynasty leagues. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. As always, again, at RotoBuzzGuy, at Colby Conway, hit us up in Discord. Happy to answer any and all of your fantasy baseball questions. Turn it over to the latest MLB news. Good things coming here towards the tail end, Colby. Obviously, the All-Star break is creeping up on us, but looking for back in action possibly as early as this week. Well, we've already got Bryce Harper back. The Twins just activated Royce Lewis. So you got like 2 weeks before he lands on the DL again. So you just got to get him in now while you can. And then here you go. A couple of players coming back this week later on. Zach Geloff, Jorge Soler, Tyler O'Neill, Wyatt Langford. Now, we know Langford can do, some power and some speed. We like him. We do need that Texas lineup to basically stay healthy at the same time, and maybe they can kind of feed off of each other. That's an issue that they've had. Soler and Tyler O'Neill, I think it's just kind of empty power, crappy batting average is what you're looking at. Zach Geloff kind of intrigues me a little bit, especially because you just said second base is trash.
I did.
Are you interested in Zach Geloff?
Listen, if you love Matt McClain, you're going to love Zach Geloff because he is the same thing. Power, speed, and the batting average is going to suck. 2023 was awesome. 267 average, 14 and 14 across 69 games. He was a guy I loved last year, and 17 homers and 25 stolen bases across a full season is pretty darn good. But that's about where the line is drawn because then you got the 211 batting average, the 34.4% strikeout rate. If your league values OBP, he's a big fat zero for you in that department. Better for batting average leagues only because he's just not as abysmal in that category. So I think he's just power and speed. I have significant concerns about the batting average because if you're going to strike out 30+% of the time, and he's throughout the minors, his strikeout rate was even in the mid to upper 20s the whole time there. There's a hole in his bat at times. There's swing and miss in his game. I just don't foresee. I think the 267 average we saw in 2023 is about where he'll peak. He'll give you a little power. He'll give you a little speed, but banking it for anything above 245 is just not smart. But I like him. Think Matt McClain with maybe a little bit better batting average this year.
Listen, you can't give me Matt McClain with worse batting average. I don't even think that's possible.
Yeah. I mean, if, like I said, you like Matt McClain with the 2020 type profile, and this year probably end the year around 220, 225. Zach Geloff, probably 2020 pace. Obviously, he won't get there with playing half of the season, but 2020-esque pace, and maybe I'll say 230 to 235 bangers. But again, OBP leagues, I'm a little more down on him just because the walk rate was so bad last year. And even back in 2023, 8-ish% is just, it's fine. He's just not an OBP guy for me.
Okay. You know who is an OBP guy and a walk rate? Just because you just triggered me on this one. So this past Sunday, I had a 4-leg parlay. First 3 legs hit. I was super psyched about it, right? My last leg of the parlay was James Wood, right? Mm-hmm. Over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI. Singles in his first at bat. Then he gets intentionally walked 4 straight at bats. I haven't seen anybody get walked intentionally 4 times in a game since Barry Bonds, right? When Barry Bonds was just raking home runs and putting the fear of God into pitchers, like that's when you saw that into James Wood. I love the player. I get that you're threatened by the bat, but my Lord, that cost me some money, Colby. Not happy about it.
Yep. He only trails Judge Otani and Cal Raleigh for intentional walks on the year. And this is what we wanted from James Wood. We like the power speed profile. I had a little bit of concerns about the strikeout rate, which is still a little bit elevated at 26.8% this season, but the power's legit. He's hitting for average, the expected statistics right on par with what's happening. And you'd love to see the launch angle come up a little bit at just 5.8 degrees, because that could even further increase his power production with just how impressive the other batted ball metrics are. But yeah, I mean, this guy is, I guess, the second coming of Barry Bonds. Guess there's no other way to say it.
In sad sack news, Yordan Alvarez setback. I know you added this to the doc, so you tell me, because I had somebody who was already, who's in contention for winning in their keeper league, sitting in first place right now, second and third place looming, has Yordan Alvarez, was just offered straight up either Kyle Schwarber or who was the other one? Who was the other one? Damn. Let me go to my crazy little Twitter feed here and see who it was, because I think it's important here. Kyle Schwarber or damn,
crazy little Twitter feed.
What's that?
My crazy little Twitter feed. I've never heard it said like that.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? Here you go. It was either Schwarber or Devers. One or the other, straight up, Yordan Alvarez. If you're in first place, Colby, with second and third looming, and you just got word of this setback, I don't know. How long of a setback is it? Forever?
So supposedly he's going to see a specialist in the next 48 hours. This was on X per Chandler Rome, but he suffered a setback, reported hand soreness after more swings, and has been shut down. So he's going to see a specialist, and we'll have to see, because most likely what will probably happen, he'll go see the specialist. He doesn't like what is heard, but then he'll get the second opinion. Everybody has hope when they shouldn't, because no one gets a second opinion if they like the first. So again, just speculating. He has not gone for a second opinion yet. I'm just purely speculating, but I mean, it's just another season with the Houston Astros left-handed slugger dealing with what was supposed to be a simple issue. He's going to be, I remember writing in the injury report, I'm pretty sure I wrote, it doesn't seem like he'll be out much past the minimum required stay. Pretty sure I said the same exact words for Kyle Tucker last year when he fouled a ball off his shin. It was just a bruise, and apparently his leg was broken in 13 different places, and he couldn't play for months. I don't trust it. I don't trust the Houston staff. I don't know what's up with Yordan's hand. I don't like hand injuries to begin with, because it saps power upon the return. I would probably just take Kyle Schwarber and move on, to be honest. I don't trust this. I don't like this. I don't know, just bad vibes. I would take the deal for Kyle Schwarber, because at least he's playing.
That's exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. And yeah, and I took Schwarber over Devers anyway. Better ballpark, good solid lineup. I like when they bat. Schwarber, I mean, he even hits lefties as good as he hits righties. So I'm good over there with that. That's good to know. What else do we have in the news here? Oh yeah, Tyler Mahle, bye-bye. Rotator cuff strain, will be sidelined until after the trade deadline. I don't even think he comes back from that. I think we're in trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, he's also 1-2 where, like, while his ERA was good, he was a bit over his skis, as they want to say. 4.18 xERA, 3.36 FIP, a middling strikeout rate that somehow got worse from the 12 innings that he logged last year. But I mean, from 2023 and 2024, he pitched under 40 innings. He's already at 77 this year. If I'm not mistaken, he already spent one stint on the injured list this season. So yeah, he's not one that I'm tied to by any means, especially with just a low strikeout rate and already having the pass it on the IL, and he's back there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if we don't see him again. I can just say my fantasy team won't see him again. There's just there's no meat on the bone. The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Agreed.
And insert another cliche that I can't think of at the moment.
You know what? I like that. That's one of my favorite cliches, the juice being worth the squeeze. And you know what? And that transitions us into somebody who I think the juice is worth the squeeze. You just have to be a little patient. Chase Burns. So Chase Burns comes out and he strikes out almost every Yankee over and over again, to the point where Jim Bowden was like driving me insane on the show and I wanted to kill him. Well, then Chase Burns in his next outing got destroyed by the Red Sox. I mean, abusive. I think it was like 5 earned runs in like 2/3 of an inning, maybe something like that, and it was just, they crushed him. But for those of you who might have like lost faith in him or kind of wondering, he was apparently tipping his pitches. So what they did was they ended up like zoning in on Jaron Duran, who had like just crossed the plate, whispered something to Carlos Narvaez, who then ended up like smacking a first pitch slider right off of the big green monster. And that was, that kind of gave everybody. So here it was, had a higher leg kick and an open glove on his fastball, had a lower leg kick, tighter glove on the off speed pitches. So like once you start tipping pitches like that, they're going to jump on you every time. It's going to be up to the pitching coach for the Reds to make sure that he doesn't do it anymore. But at least we know it was a correctable thing and it wasn't just like just an abusive shellacking that we should just drop him and be like, well, he's a rookie. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and it's like exactly, you hit the main point, is that it's correctable. It's not like a injury, it's not soreness that you can't kind of just fix without like time. Go look at Jesus Luzardo's game logs for the year. You can find the exact 2 starts in which he was tipping pitches and how things have settled in from there. So I'll give kind of 2 things on this. Chase Burns is going to be just fine for fantasy. I wouldn't sweat it. Very elite arm. You can easily fix this. It's just kind of, he just needs to see it for himself as well when they go back and kind of rewatch things. But 2 things with this. 1, Jaron Duran, not very subtle. Just, immediately went to Carlos Narvaez and told him, maybe when are the days of you go in the dugout and you kind of tell everybody there where they're not seeing it, and instead he just goes right to the on deck circle. He might as well just put his hand down and just tell Chase Burns what he's doing too. And then secondly, with that, you can get that fixed. I still like Burns a lot, but depending on maybe how long he actually has been doing this, it might not be a super easy fix. Like we saw Luzardo, there was 2 bad back-to-back starts. So just kind of keep that in mind with Burns. Things should be just fine with him long-term, but definitely has to get this corrected because the batters are just so keen and pick up on the smallest stuff. Like I needed a still to notice it. I after watching the video and seeing the stills, I realized why I didn't pan out in baseball, because I would not have picked that up. Like, just not a chance. I was way too worried about other things to even notice something like that. But hey, that's why they're in the league. They make the big bucks. They pick up on the little stuff. And Burns is absolutely electric, but these are the little fine details that basically make you unhittable. We talk about pitchers with like tunneling. You want the fastball and slider, everything looks the same for as long as it can until it's basically something else. Same with Burns, these fine little details. The stuff is there, the talent is there. Honing in on these fine details are that difference between good and great, and even great and elite.
You remember those Yu Darvish 5-pitch overlay gifts that they used to create, because his delivery was the exact, like delivery and release point exactly the same on 5 different types of pitches. It was unbelievable. Yep. Whatever happened to you? He really just screwed the pooch, didn't he?
He's still trying to work his way back.
I know he is. Not going to trust him. Not going to trust him.
Can't.
All right. Well, a segment that we started up. I think we started this up with you, Colby, a couple weeks ago. It's called "What are we to believe?" And I guess this is where the trust issues come into play. Colby got some performances here over the past 2 weeks. Some good, some not so good. The question is what do we believe for the long term? Like I said, you always want to finish that first half on a high note, but you always want to make sure that you are prepared for a very strong start to the second half. Once that All-Star break finishes up, you really need to just, your players need to be attacking nonstop. So here we go. Colby, everybody's favorite outfielder, Byron Buxton, slashing 314, 386, 824 with 8 home runs, 10 RBI, 14 runs scored, 3 stolen bases. This is just over the past 2 weeks. He's on pace to go 30-30 this year, to surpass 30-30. Career numbers here for Byron Buxton. Do we believe?
Yeah, I was just about 6 years too early on Byron Buxton. I remember banging for the drum here and about every single podcast and article I had at Fantasy Alarm, and I just 6 years too early. It's just I hate to be it, but the interesting thing is if we were to look at the beginning of the season, let's say March, April time, and we were to say 67 games played for Byron Buxton, 1915, go through his whole stats and everything, I would have believed he must be DHing every third game or something. Nope. He's had, I think, 2 games as the DH this year. That's it. He is just playing the field. He's staying healthy, still solid defensively, all things considered, and the offense is there. I mean, he's the only thing the Minnesota lineup really has from a fantasy standpoint that's intriguing. He's doing a little bit of everything. The strikeout rate's a little bit high, but the walk rate's solid. The expected statistics look pretty good, although there's maybe a little bit of regression in store. But he makes a ton of hard contact. The barrel finds the ball often. So as long as he stays healthy, I'm not going to dismiss him from going 30-30. If you just simply double his numbers, you're looking at 38-30. In fact, I'm more confident in the power getting to that 30 mark than the stolen bases. He is at 15, and he's a perfect 15 for 15 at that fact. But I think in an effort to keep him healthy, I think he's going to end closer to about 25 than 30. I don't quite think he gets to the 30-30, but excellent season nonetheless.
So you're buying. You're just like, I'm locked in. No problem. You're getting fish hooked.
No qualms. I'm partying like it's 2019 Buxton, like that season where he I can't remember if it was before this. I think it was before the season when he was, or early in the year when he was delayed because he cracked his tooth eating a piece of steak. And I remember he missed time, and I was like, this is just after I hyped this guy up. And he, first off, screw the cook who made a steak so hard, who even cooked their steak well done, that he cracks his tooth, or who has those most brittle teeth. Brittle teeth Byron Buxton. Unbelievable. I could not believe that happened then, but 30-25 this year.
Look at you. Like you can't say no, right? It's like the toxic relationship that Colby will just keep going back to over and over again.
Yep.
All right. Cam Smith, Houston Astros, slashing 378, 451, 689, 4 home runs, 10 ribbies, 9 runs scored, and a stolen base. This is just over his last 12 games. He is having an exceptional month of June. Flash in the pan, or are you buying it, Colby? What do you believe in?
Too much talent to not believe in. And if anybody kind of bailed on him after the first little bit, then you shouldn't have drafted him anyway. You got to stick it out here. And if we're looking at him moving forward, if I can nitpick kind of what he's doing a little bit, I'd love to see a few more fly balls at the expense of the ground balls. A 47.6% ground ball rate on the year is going to be tough for like a very high power floor, but a 12% swinging strike rate, sub 30 on the O swing rate, so swings outside of the zone, contacts above 70%, maybe a little bit of improvement there. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to rack up stolen bases in bunches, only 5 attempts through 70 games this year. But I think if he runs a little bit more, he can get to 10, and the power could get him into that 20 range. The batting average should keep ticking up. So by season's end, I wouldn't be surprised. 280, 285 for Cam Smith, 20 homers, and I'll be cautious and say 8 stolen bases, but he could flirt with 10 to 12. It's a really, really talented kid that this is what everybody was hoping for in the beginning of the year. But the kid's like 19 years old and he had 0 major league at bats coming into it. So there's going to be a learning curve. He is surely figuring it out. And this is pretty darn impressive.
And a position change too, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, kid, go play the outfield now. You've never played the outfield, but go ahead, give it a shot, right? It's like that scene in Moneyball, right? It's first base, right? It's very easy. It's very difficult. It's not an easy position. Otto Lopez. Let's go back to second base because I know how much you love it. What about Otto Lopez here? Slashing 375, 436, 542. 2 home runs, 16 RBI. That's the 4th most RBI in the majors over the past 2 weeks. 10 runs scored, 1 stolen base. Otto Lopez. I mean, I guess if second base is that trash, you have to be invested here.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the good ones. That's the way I'll word it. But for a guy at 5'10", 185 frame, if you go look at his baseball savant page like I'm looking at right now, there's a lot of red on that page, which is very impressive. 86th percentile expected WOBA, 95th percentile expected batting average. I've been pleasantly surprised by the power. The speed is very good. Good for OBP leagues with a 330 OBP. So I love it. 81st percentile sprint speed. I love what he's doing. And if you're a family member, you're in the Discord, you'll see James Grande was hyping him up as well with his baseball savant page and just him being a believer in him as well. So Otto Lopez, if he is available in your league, he shouldn't be for very long, or he won't be, but I would be going to pick him up. He's very good. And while, yes, he only has one stolen base over the last 2 weeks, he will run more moving forward because Miami has to manufacture runs. So I love Otto Lopez. He can contribute across the board.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, you know what? We kind of bashed him a little earlier, so I don't really feel the need to go back to telling everybody, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell everybody what Michael Harris has done, because I feel like this is one of those things that, you know, it's like Bird Box, right? You got to like pry the eyes open and just be like, you have to look at it. You have to see that Michael Harris is batting .051 with a 24.4% strikeout rate, with no home runs, 2 RBI, a run scored, and a stolen base over the last 2 weeks, now batting .212 on the year. We already kind of talked about him there, but I'm bird boxing everybody here, Colby. Look at him. Look at him.
Here's your only saving grace. Your only saving grace, I mentioned it, I'll go into a little bit more. For his career in the second half, he's a 308 hitter with an 864 OPS and a 136 WRC plus. In the first half, he's a 245 hitter with a 670 OPS and an 82 WRC plus. However, I don't think 4 days in July is going to fix Michael Harris. I don't think that's the case this year. I've said it. I think he looks lost. He's literally not doing anything for fantasy purposes. I mean, I guess he has the 11 stolen bases and he's somehow run into 6 home runs. But in terms of where you got him, he's going to need a elite second half to even maybe come close to returning value. And even then, a strong second half can't push up his 212 average or a 238 OBP that much. So he's one of the biggest busts in fantasy this season. So like I said, I don't think 4 days off in July is going to be enough of a reset for him.
He needs to hit 350 and go 2020 in order to make that happen. Like, in order to return value on his on his draft, because I think it was a 3rd or 4th round in a 12-team league is where he was going. Brutal. He
was certainly early.
Brutal. We're going to turn into some pitching here. Will Warren has a 2.60 ERA, a 12.46 K per 9 over his last 17 and a third innings, 3 starts. Are we locking down Will Warren because of the strikeouts? Is there enough upside there that, you know, obviously pitching for the Yankees, he's got good win equity here. Are we believing in Will Warren, though?
Yeah, 100%. You look at if we go over his last 3 starts, he's using the fastball a little bit more, the sinker more at the expense of his slider and changeup. And really, if you go even back beyond his past 3 starts, outside of the start against the Dodgers, and just to prove my point, we'll throw the start in there against Boston. He's been a machine in terms of allowing 3 or fewer earned runs. He's done that in 4 straight. And then obviously he had the 4 against Boston and 7 against the Dodgers, but then he did it in 5 straight before that as well. So Will Warren's doing very, very well. I love the strikeouts. And if you look for the year, he's got a 4.37 ERA, but a 0.67 homer per 9 and a 2.88 FIP. So we are 100% buying Will Warren. I'm really excited for his second half. And I'm looking here back in 2024, 131 innings between AAA and the MLB. So he's set for 150 to 160 plus. So there is no concern with them skipping him through the rotation.
Beautiful. All right. Always like to, every time I talk about this player, always have to shout it out to Dom Murtha, former Fantasy Alarm writer, football guy for us. His cousin, Matthew Liberatore. He's now won his last 3 straight starts. He's got a 1.89 ERA over his last 19 innings. Has this kid turned a corner? He's actually looked really good this year. Has he had a couple of stumbles? Yes, but who hasn't? Really? So I look at this one here and I wonder, very highly touted prospect. A lot of people were down on him early on in his career. Now all of a sudden he's delivering on a lot of whole old hype and promise.
Yeah, and he had that little bout with, I don't remember if they were calling it arm fatigue or shoulder fatigue, but Vila was down for a start or two, but it's bounced back. He's been very, very impressive to say the least. He's dominated left-handers. He's only allowed a 303 WOBA against righties. And then in terms of like home road splits, and both at home and on the road, 309 FIP and a 3.00 FIP on the season. So he's finally turned a corner. The strikeout rate, you'd like to see it a bit higher, only sitting at 19.9%, but an elite walk rate keeps his strikeout minus walk rate very manageable. Strong whip, and a lot of the numbers under the hood look really good. So yeah, I think he's turned a corner. As long as that arm fatigue and shoulder fatigue is behind him, which it seems to be, don't have many concerns about him moving forward either.
All right, let me give you one more, but then you're gonna have to hand us some waiver wire guys to track here. This is Milwaukee's finest, former Pittsburgh great. Dude, your organization is just garbage. I'm sorry. I mean, can I take a moment here from shouting out Quinn Priester and finding out if you actually believe in him or not? But your organization is so bad. Dude, it's terrible. Like I'd be renouncing my fandom for the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? Jim Bowden went off on a tirade today because they're letting Nick Gonzalez walk around wearing Dave Parker's number. Like, you knew Dave Parker was going to the Hall of Fame. You knew he was dealing with Parkinson's. Why wouldn't you retire the dude's number? Like, it's not like Nick Gonzalez is somebody that we're interested in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. It's just, your team's a disaster. Your organization's trash. Bubba Chandler's never coming up. You will end up trading Paul Skeens eventually. I know that Ben Cherington said that anybody is available off of this team except for Paul Skeens and who was the other guy that he mentioned?
O'Neal Cruz, who hasn't really looked interested.
Did he mention O'Neal Cruz? Was that the other one that he wasn't going to deal? Either way, your team sucks, dude. Your team sucks.
Well,
Priester, is this kid going to hurt you or what?
I just responded to you when you were talking, and I was in my head going, well, I'm just going to say that your mic cut out and I didn't hear anything of that. But then I responded to you. So I kind of just ruined my own bit there. But yeah, as I put in the show notes, sparkle emoji, former Pittsburgh great Quinn Priester, sparkle emoji, absolutely dominating over his last 4 starts. Almost a sub-2 ERA, 2.42 FIP. The ground ball rate's over 50%. Excellent whip, and the strikeouts have really ticked up as well, with a 25.6 strikeout minus walk rate over his last 4 starts. Just like most guys, he's gotten better since he's left Pittsburgh. Do with that what you will. And on the season, when you kind of look at the pitch mix, he's added in a cutter a little bit. He's got a sinker working as well. Slider remains his primary secondary offering there. So what I'm seeing with Quinn Priester, very, very impressive. Back in Pittsburgh, it was lefties really got to him. And this year, he's actually been quite good against lefties, only allowing a 299 WOBA on the season. So Quinn Priester was a guy we talked about in the podcast a couple weeks ago. I said he was a waiver wire pickup, and he looks like a darn good one. He is dominating, once again, the former Pittsburgh great Quinn Priester.
Well, see that, people? And if you guys listened to Colby when he was here and he was shouting out Priester's name, then you're benefiting from that, which that makes it's a fantastic transition here for us to go and drop some waiver wire recommendations before we get on out of here. Well, I can't believe how long holy crap. We've been sitting here for 45 minutes already, Colby.
Yep, and now I get to talk about Otto Lopez more. King Otto Lopez, top priority waiver wire. If he's available, go get him. Let me preface the next one. I am not dropping someone of value. Okay, just because with prospects, everybody loves to I'm going to drop someone who plays every day for me in my lineup to go for him. If you have the space on your team, maybe someone got injured, you move him to the IL, go get Chase Delater. He's coming up soon for Cleveland. He's working up to playing 5 games a week in the minors. He can handle it. They need to call him up. And then if you need some cheap speed from players getting regular at-bats, Jacob Young in Washington and Sam Haggerty in Texas. Haggerty's at-bats are going to get limited once Langford comes back, so we might only have a couple of more days with him. But Jacob Young and Sam Haggerty can give you some cheap speed in the outfield.
I like it. I like it. Give me 3 pitchers that we should be keeping our eyeballs on over the next couple of days.
Yep, a guy who will be wearing a different jersey in a month, Mike Soroka, more sinkers and changeups of late, which has really increased the strikeout rate for him, which has been very, very impressive. And teams are going to be calling on Soroka. It's just a matter of where Washington decides to deal him, because honestly, they should get what they can for him. I'm scared to death to recommend this guy, so I'll just have someone cut it out and post if it doesn't work in 2 weeks. But Trevor Rogers in Baltimore. The velo is back. The early returns have been good. He's got 3 pitches with double-digit swinging strike rate. And maybe Baltimore saw something that wasn't a move for last year. It was a move for this year to give up 2 really good prospects for a relatively bad southpaw from Miami, who's been better this year. So,
you know, the funny thing about Trevor Rogers is I was very much into him when he was pitching for the Marlins, right? It was before all the injuries, before he had like all this family drama that went down and a lot of stuff going on there. And I haven't given him a lick of thought until Monday, when John Impemba and James Grande were recommending using him for the DFS slate. And I was like, get out of here. There's 0 chance. And I mean, this 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. Not phenomenal, but not terrible. I would love to see him turn his whole world around. I was always a big fan of his. I have some trouble with that one there, Colby.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, but I mean, hey, a couple weeks ago, Quinn Priester was the one who wasn't for the faint of heart. And that one's former Pittsburgh great. I'm sorry, Quinn Priester.
Look at you.
So would go, again, if you need help, I would look there. And then the last one to make it the trifecta of pitchers on really bad teams. Look at Sean Burke, 2 or fewer earned runs in 5 of his last 6 appearances, 35 to 10 strikeout to walk ratio in that span with a 306 FIP. He's mixed up his pitches a little bit. We're seeing more of his curveball, which has a 288 WOBA against it on the year, and his changeup, which has been hit kind of hard, but does have a 10.4 swinging strike rate. So in deeper formats, Sean Burke, Trevor Rogers are guys to look at, and even in semi-shallower ones like 12-team formats, I'm riding the Mike Soroka train right now, because if he's going to pitch well and get traded to a contender, sign me up.
There you go. There you go. Soroka's a guy who I was definitely worried about. Just because he just never seemed right. I mean, he was with the Braves and he never seemed right after dealing with the shoulder injury. And that's always like elbow injury, Tommy John. Let's correct it. Let's move on. Let's do it that way. Shoulder injury, a lot different, a lot tougher to come back with. I've seen so many great pitchers with the rotator cuff issue. Like, that's why I'm so scared for Tyler Mahle right now with the rotator cuff issue. Could go that same way as like Soroka for a while. Remember Michael Pineda? Oh my Lord. That dude was like, his rotator cuff went on him and that was it. He was over. Could never make it back. So
that's not what I thought you were going to say with Soroka. You're like, I was just worried about him. And then you had a pause. And I was like, is he going to say breathing? Because he's been hurt so many times over the last couple of years. I'm just worried about him breathing and getting hurt.
Is he conscious? Are you recommending a guy who is conscious and actually standing upright?
Well, I remember, I mean, just a couple weeks ago, or I guess 2 weeks ago at this point, I picked up Mizorowski and was like, this is the guy. He's gonna fix my pitching for my fantasy teams. And I was like, this guy can't even walk without spraining his ankle. I'm gonna have to worry about him now every time, not just after he throws it, but as he walks back to the mound, can he keep his ankle from touching the ground? That's what I was worried about after that. But shout out Mike Soroka, he's been good, and shout out Jacob Mizorowski. Ace.
I got Jacob Mizorowski in the in NL Labor, and very happy there as he's helped me run to the middle of the pack in that league. By the way, I did get out of the basement in FSGA.
Let's go.
Right next up, so I'm climbing up, and again, all I need is to not get relegated. So I just passed CBS Sports. My the next team that I need to pass, Colby. Matt Sells and James Grande of the Fantasy Alarm.
Listen, I don't want to say anything, but I want to see that meme get posted on your X account with the Grim Reaper going to the door of all the people just right ahead of you in the standings. Just slowly work your way along, slow and steady, folks. That's what wins. That's what wins the fantasy baseball race.
There you go. That is what wins it. Well, all right. Well, there you go, folks. That's that'll help you out right there. Colby's got the injury report covered over at fantasyalarm.com. He and we always split the pitching grid, the starting pitching grid, which is another great tool that you guys can check out. I know Colby's going to be on Wednesdays for sure after I just did Monday and Tuesday. And again, he's got the injury report. James Grande's got the waiver wire article. And always hit us up in Discord if you got any kind of questions, or on the old Twitter machine, X, whatever you want to call it. I'm at RotoBuzzGuy. He is at Colby R. Conway. We thank y'all for tuning in here to Caught Stealing. And yeah, we'll see y'all on the money this year.